Reading book on pausing, written by me, Eric Wadell. First draft, August 2025. Chapter 8, Long-term situation. Personal story. After the COVID outbreak in 2019-2020, our Western world has become more unsettled. There is now war in Europe, and each country here, as well as in North America, is dealing with their own domestic frictions. The elderly do no longer go outside after dark, and children are dealing with overwhelming everyday anger and anxiety. Almost every day we receive news about some new social challenge. So we pause and try to look at it for what it is. When I do so, one thing that stands out to me is that each new challenge is not equally challenging to every member of my family. When I pause with the one challenge, I find myself being the most vulnerable to it. When I pause with the next challenge, I find some other member of my family to struggle with it the most. It seems that these unsettled times have the potential and capability to sow discord within our families. We cannot completely prevent these times from doing damage to the glue holding our families together, but we can still do a lot. Whenever a piece of difficult news hits, I pause and recognize if the most vulnerable family member this given time is me or someone else. Then I take the initiative to sit down together with my family. For moderately challenging pieces of news, we sit down informally. And for major turns of events, we sit down more formally. Oftentimes, just taking the time to pause together will take much of the edge off from a distressing thing. Oftentimes not much needs to be said at all. Perhaps just eat some food together or go on a day trip. At other times, some talking does good, and or some acknowledgement that the challenge at hand indeed is real. Yes, our Western world is currently in the midst of unsettled times, but they will not last forever. These times too will end, and once again give way to spontaneous breathing space. Until peaceful times come again, we take the time to sit down now and again, to pause with any new difficulties popping up. Until peaceful times come again, we preserve our most important asset, which is our sense of coherence. With coherence, we will want to make future plans, even when the news tell us otherwise. The situation. Long term is when we make plans for our long-term future, and also when we worry or feel urgency about it. The future has not yet happened, but we know that it will. The future has not yet come, but we know it will come. The future is unknown, but certain. Some of us do not like to think about the future at all. Others of us make up extravagant scenarios for what could develop. And still others think about it in moderation or when needed. Our long-term situation is part personal, part general. Some aspects of your future will be yours alone, and other aspects you will share with others. Our future is two things at the same time, like that. It is yours and yours alone, but it is also ours, common. Pausing in our long-term situation is about getting in touch with the dynamics between these two simultaneous futures. Pausing in our long-term situation is our ambition to and effort in being both an individual but also part of the group. We ask ourselves, where am I going? But also, where are we going? This is inevitably a source of difficulty for us. Sometimes our personal future lines up nicely with our shared future. That is when we cannot wait to make detailed plans for it. At other times, our two futures are at great odds with one another, and that is when we dread the future altogether. Pausing in our long-term situation takes courage. to give both ourselves and others, as well as the future as such, some benefit of the doubt and stepping out into the unknown. Pausing in our long-term situation also takes realism, to look at our lives such as they are, and being prepared to deal with them accordingly. We do not throw away what is certain. Long-term goal, coherence. What concept then could we make use of when referring to the dynamics between our personal future and our shared future? Coherence. Coherence is a useful word, and its opposite term is scattering. When we pause in our long-term situation, we gain coherence for our sense about the future. When we do not pause, we are often left feeling scattered. When thinking about our life, we all have things that we are proud of, and we also have things that we are ashamed of. If tasked with mapping out our life on paper, we would want to overemphasize some things and leave other things out of it completely. This is just how it is for all of us. We are all coherent, but we are also scattered. Long-term goal coherence is in this way a useful compass for our future. With it, we get a real sense of where we feel whole and where we feel lost. We will always be a bit of both, and our goal is not to become 100% coherent, nor 0% scattered, but rather to grow interested in our life, such as it is. As a consequence, when we have developed some natural interest in ourselves, we will feel some spontaneous ideas popping up inside of us. We will catch ourselves being more okay with our limited influence over the nature of things, and more motivated to actively partake in the things that we actually can influence. In a sense, we could here talk about slowly growing more at home in the world. The unknown reality of the future will still feel just as exciting and just as scary. That will not change. But you as a person and we as a group will face it with equal certainty. The 3 specific skills for our long-term situations are melody, sketch, and lagom. melody. Our life is a series of days, and our life is also a series of events. We go from one day to the next, and we go from one event to the next. We can choose to walk aimlessly and allow for whatever next step may be to present itself. We can also choose to walk in a strict way and never take a step unless we have planned for it in advance. Still, a third way of taking steps is choosing to do it half spontaneously, half planned. And in this third way, it resembles how a nice melody sounds in a piece of music. The melodies that we remember in music have this vibrant feel to them. They feel enthusiastic, but also organized. They have this half spontaneous, half planned feeling to them. Specific skill melody is when we live our lives in such a way so that it feels like a melody, where each step makes sense on its own, but where there is also coherence between each step. How then does this rather metaphoric mindset materialize in practice? It is about choice. Choosing the one thing in life that makes the most sense to you. We like a melody because it is specific. We like a melody because it wants to say something certain. It does not want to say all things. It wants to say one thing. In practicing specific skill melody, we pause and collect ourselves. We give it some time and honestly state, what is the one thing that makes the most sense to us in life? Probably we like many things, but we have one thing where life just feels like music. There is one thing that makes us feel like everything makes sense. This is our melody, our North Star. If it does not come to us upon our first time trying it, we wait some time and pause again. Something will, sooner or later, avail itself to us. It is too important not to. Sketch. Once we have made our choice and know what we are supposed to do, then we need to look at the logistics of it. For our melody to be practical long term, we need to lean on some sort of support. And one effective means of support is to make plans and to get them down on paper. Writing our plans down on paper is a powerful tool. It just works. When an intention of ours has been made real on paper, it asserts power in our life. What has been made real once often wants to be made real again. This is the logic behind specific skill sketch. We pause and put our melody down on paper. It will look rough in the beginning, but steadily grow more fluent with continued practice. Here we make use of our creativity and inventiveness. Sketch it out however you want. Make it make sense to you. Be inspired by how other people have done it. Also, find your own way of doing it. Make your plans real on paper and do it repeatedly. Write, doodle, draw lines, mind map, erase, do it again. If your plans include more people than yourself, sit down together with them and sketch together. Take turns putting things in. Be inquisitive. Affirm each other. Argue. Hit a wall. Come back again. Keep on sketching down your plans on paper. It will make them ever more real. We can also sketch down our fears and doubts about our plans. It makes a big difference for us, not having to carry the heavy stuff in our thoughts only. It makes space for new things to grow. It unburdens us. LAGOM. Now we know the one thing we want to do in life, and we are continuously making sketches for it. Next comes taking the actual steps for it. Here we make use of a Swedish term called LAGOM. LAGOM is a descriptive word, meaning when something is just right or just enough. Not too much, but not too little either. It helps us find that sweet spot when taking our step. Practicing specific skill LAGOM is straightforward. Whenever we are facing a certain step to take, we pause and ask ourselves if it feels lagom. Does it feel just right? Not too difficult, but not without difficulty either. If yes, then the step is lagom, and we can take it with confidence. During our taking the step, we may pause again and check in on how the experience of it was. We taste it and even enjoy it. Sometimes, however, we reach the end of a line and see no next step that feels lagom. Sometimes there is no lagom, and we are faced only with alternatives that feel bad or worse. Then we must move through it anyway, and that will be part of our melody. It will create some interruption in our flow, and it will scatter us somewhat. Sometimes losing is inevitable. When we have moved through something that is not lagom, something that is too difficult, we are changed in the process. And it might take some time for us to make peace with what happened and how we were changed as people going through it. So, we pause and recognize what the step meant for us. We pause and honor ourselves, having made the best that we could, given the circumstances. And then we take another step. The time has now come to move on to our fourth specific situation of pausing: confused.